Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Beautiful. Brother, I would love to attempt to do the poetry.
Okay.
And you can help me out as I go on. I have not practiced it since our last video. In the year of the dawn, in the year of the primal course, dawn the terrestrial birth, man mastered the mammoth and horse. Man is the lord of the earth. He made him in a hollow of a skin, heart of an unholy tree. He compassed the earth therein. Man is the lord of the sea.
The earth.
The earth. Is the sea the first one?
No, I think the Earth's the first one. I'm not 100% sure though.
Steam, he harnessed the lightning for hire.
What?
Control the vigorous steam.
That one might be the water one, but yeah.
I think it's. Let me try this again. Sorry about this.
The mammoth and the horse one, that would be the Earth
one. In the year of the dawn, a primal course. Birth is solar. No, I completely got it wrong that time again. Okay. We're gonna get serious. Focusing. This is a strange introduction. No, I'll get this eventually. We'll spend an hour talking about it if we have to. Now I'm joking.
We'll do it again and again. And eventually we'll find an answer.
The truth is, I'm just feeling so much euphoria right now. I'm trying to concentrate it. In the year of the primal course, dawn the terrestrial birth, man mastered the mammoth and horse. Man is the lord of the earth. He made him in a skin of the heart of a holy tree. He compassed the earth therein. Man is the lord of the sea. He controlled the vigorous steam. He harnessed the lightning for hire. He drove the celestial team. Man is the lord of the fire. Deep-throned, deep-seated. The aeons declare the last of the demons defeated. Actually, this is the part with the fire. Man is the lord of the fire. The other one was, the next one's spirit.
Yeah, sea.
That last one was sea, not fire. Arise, O man, in thy strength, the kingdom is thine to inherit, till the high gods witness that man is the lord of his spirit. That's it. I'm actually a little bit rusty on it, but the best way to study is when a camera is pointed on you and the possibility of someone watching this. It gives you that little bit of motivation to get it. And even if you don't get it right, this is the way to really practice it. In a way, it makes you want to, memorizing these things and is very important. Because it could be a great possibility in the times we live in that we can't just pull it up on the internet. I mean, we got
to know this stuff well.
And this is just one example.
Yeah.
I want to practice the Hare Krishna chant too.
Yeah. And just being able to recite the meaning of these teachings. We should study. A big part of mysticism is study and knowing well what it is we're trying to do and what it is certain holy books talk about.
You know what, man? I want to tell you, I'm so glad to be recording.
Me too,
I'm glad to be talking in front of this camera. I'm glad for us to be on the holy plants together. And for some reason, it's felt like a long time since we've actually recorded one of our talks. But actually, we have a great many things, as usual, we want to rant about. We'll just, in a very crazy fashion, go from one to the next, probably. This is a explosion of inspiration on these plants. But, one of the things that I wanted to mention was going back to kind of scared of, some of the times we're in and why it's important to start memorizing some of these things. I mean, if you look throughout history, the things that has happened, not only could that repeat itself, but
it could be much worse.
It could be much worse, man.
Because now we have, more advanced technology, more advanced ways for destroying each other and the planet.
So it's always good to be mindful about that. But if you don't care, man, I would like to kind of, state some of the things I've been studying, we've been studying, and then actually I had a question that I wanted to ask you that it's a strange time to remember it when we start recording, but first of all, we've been looking more into some of the ceremonies, rituals of Crowley, the Golden Dawn. We was actually reading some of this prior to this video, and an interesting one that really caught our attention is referred to as the Bornless ritual. And again, we don't, at least I don't know a whole lot about it right now. You've read a little bit of it before, haven't you?
I have heard of it, but I never really studied it or anything, or I've never performed it.
It seems to have many different ways you can go about this, and the way it seems, and keep in mind this is a very advanced level of ritual the way I take it, but at least for me, I'm strictly studying this with obviously no attempt to go in that direction, at least at this moment. But the way I take it, it's a bit of a almost like a possession from the spirit. And a lot of different things I took away from this. One thing is a new way of conditioning yourself with no beginning or end. You don't look at the way that, and I'm speaking for this area, referred to as the West. There's such a taboo around death.
Yes,
and
there is.
There is something we do know going on behind the scenes of what's really here, obviously.
And I think, just to interject here real quick, the idea about the obvious problem that people in our country of the United States have when death is brought up. I think that we have a system that is designed to cast the illusion of permanence, with the way our calendar is set up.
Everything's set in stone.
Yes, everything is set in stone.
That's just not the way
and
it is.
It's a materialistic culture too. So it would be kind of vain for the population to start to realize, hey, material possessions they're in time, they will pass away. That wouldn't be conducive to selling people useless shit that they don't need, so it's kind of perpetuated by capitalism.
And that's so true, man. So I wanted to ask you yesterday, we talked for a little bit, and brother, man, like you yourself have inspired me so much to, if I have not read anything else, listen to McKenna, has really inspired me about psilocybin.
Yeah.
And this is what I was thinking, dude. I literally I've done this 100 times, but I'm like, the next time I get together with you, I'm just going to ask him if I could have 3 to 5 grams.
It's like skydiving. You literally just have to commit to it.
And I'm just going to just flat out ask you this question,
sure.
Man. Is there there's so many positives, but is there any negatives that one should know about before dropping the 5 grams?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, it's not toxic. This is a compound psilocybin which turns into psilocin. Psilocin is 4-phosphorylated NN-DMT, um, and that 4-phosphorylated group is responsible for allowing um, the compound to be orally active. As we know, NN-DMT all of us have in our bodies. Um, when you take NN-DMT on its own, you must either smoke it or um, pair it with an MAO inhibitor in order to make it orally active, but it's not orally active on its own. So that 4-phosphorylated group allows psilocin to be orally active, and that 4-phosphorylated group falls away once it passes the blood-brain barrier. So you're left with NN-DMT. So psilocybin is a form of DMT. It's not toxic, so we'll get that out of the way. Now, this is a fungus, and some people do have problems digesting fungus. I personally have no problem with it. It's really crazy. My experiences with it, and I've had a lot of experiences with it. I've had absolutely zero like stomach discomfort, nausea. I've had none of that ever. And I've taken very large doses. So I think
Ridiculously.
yes, ridiculously.
And you know what? This is a thing I've told a few people about this who are into psychedelics. And before I even state the fact that I'm about to, I say, and I want you to know it doesn't matter if you believe it or not.
Yeah.
It's really, and to me, it is very mind blowing. You may have talked about it before. 5 grams is the dose.
That's a committed dose. 5 dried grams is usually where the magic starts.
I mean, you never hear nobody talking more than 8.
Right.
Or maybe 7 grams.
McKenna considered the 5 to 7 gram range as a heroic dose. Yeah. So negative effects. Some people experience stomach problems, little stomach cramps, or maybe some nausea.
Is that why it's recommended not to eat for a few hours, like many hours before taking it?
I don't know if that's exactly the only reason why, but I have a theory. I feel like that one of the reasons I've never had any stomach discomfort is probably because I would go
day, pretty much.
No, I would go about 6 hours without eating before taking them, and I've never had any problems. Perhaps if you did eat sooner, then maybe you would have some stomach discomfort. I don't know. I've never done it like that. As far as any negative effects, though, it is advised to take them when you have done a little observation of conscience. You want to kind of observe your life, observe any things that you might have been pushing to the back of your mind, because those things will come up.
Deal with those things
as best you can beforehand, because those things can come up, and they can come up with great fury. You want your house to be clean. That can be very triggering if you're on psilocybin. It can make you feel bad. The state of your space, if it's
because
dirty.
You see like every little detail, don't you?
Now, if you eat beforehand or soon before you take them, which I don't advise, I could imagine that would, especially if it was, store food or non-organic food, it would probably make you feel bad, just the fact that you just ate poison, because most of the food.
Bring that up to you.
Right, most of the food in America is poisonous. So yeah, there's that, and then there's always the possibility of what people call a bad trip, which is basically your ego's inability to let go, and but if you do surrender, it's usually no problem. So there's no physical effects. Paul Stamets brought this up. He said psilocybin is very interesting because the negative experiences that people have from it, it's 99% of the time, the negative effects do not extend past the end of the trip. After it's over and you're back down, you feel great, you know.
Mm.
So and the positive experiences that people gain from the insights and physical healing of psilocybin can extend lifetimes.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing ratio there. So it's one of the it's psilocybin is one of the safest known psychoactive substances that we know of in science. So so yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything
man,
else.
that's because every time we've gotten together, and we talk about this so frequently, but yeah, I was thinking yesterday, I've never actually just came out and asked, is there any like, is there anything horrible that can take place like non-visual
Right.
wise? You know, obviously there's always the
That
possibility.
you will see things that
Yeah,
are jarring
extremely,
and
yeah.
astonishing. I mean, that's always. I mean, if you take
I've been thinking so much about it.
if you take a committed dose, then you will be astonished, no matter what.
You know, we talked about a lot of different. I had the best time talking about all of those different
Me
psychedelics
too.
yesterday.
Me too.
You know, we watched. It was very extremely
God.
interesting, but it was very horrific.
Yeah.
The Datura. Oh, was you going to talk about that?
I was not. I was just confirming.
Yeah.
That's what it was called.
Last week when we were together, and
I mean, I might have would have got there, but
oh, good God.
yeah, that's a not quite a psychedelic. It's a deliriant. It does cause hallucinations, and it's very dark.
There seems to not
It's
be
very toxic.
any positive
No.
experiences that come from that.
And there are a slim group of people. I'm not
Who-
sure if they still do, but at least in the past have, like, there's been cults, you know, that's been
Ancient.
built, yeah, old,
cults.
that's
Yeah.
built themselves around it. Usually, I'm pretty sure these cults are located in Europe, which is
These people had a dark interpretation on the world too.
you know, which is Europe is unfortunately very poor in good hallucinogens, with the exception of some mushrooms. But even the mushrooms they grow there are pretty sparse. So, you know, it makes sense that they would use that as a means to get into hyperspace. But it lands you in such a dark coordinate point in the field of consciousness, the hyperspatial consciousness. You know what's very interesting? Certain places like in Africa, there's tribes and there's people that use ordeal poisons. Do you know about this?
Do not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even the American Indians, the Native Americans, they used ordeal poisons before they started using mescaline as their sacrament. But ordeal poisons are these basically poisonous plants that are toxic, but they're not toxic to the point of death. So you'll take this plant,
And it brings you close to death.
and it brings you very close to death, and you feel terrible, and you feel like you're going to die. You're damn sure you're going to die, and you get this real life, you know, reevaluation happening, and then you don't die, and then
And it makes you go into it a different.
yeah,
a different
it has a
mentality.
similar effect to a
Hmm.
psychedelic, and the way that, you know, you see the folly of your ways and you make an effort to change yourself. So but yeah, places that don't have access to hallucinogens, a lot of times they'll use ordeal poisons, or if they just don't are unaware of how to get them.
I mean, just kind of mentioning this in passing, you know, I really can, you know, brother, see myself getting more into cannabis, first
Yeah.
of all. I really can. But also, like, you know, I really hope that I don't wait too long to do the psilocybin experience.
Yeah.
I joked about it earlier. I said I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it under your watch.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, truth is, you know, going off on a little side note here, I have a little bit of emotional outbreaks when talking about this, because in my mind, going back to and it wasn't that much, but for me it was the that first cannabis experience that took
Yeah.
all those edibles, I was like so scared, man. Like parts of it, but dude, like I felt extremely safe here. I was like nothing to worry about. Like I
Yeah.
thought you like literally pulled me out of falling in hell.
You know,
And
cannabis. You know, and I'm someone that has in the past, and I still use it daily, just not nearly as much as I have once before.
we
Um,
have some waiting here in a little bit.
yes, sir.
Maybe we'll get to it.
Um, you know, cannabis can 100%, especially in higher doses, or if you don't have much of a tolerance, even low doses, because those are profound if you don't have a high tolerance
Oh God.
or a tolerance at all. Like
There's
you,
something strange about it, man.
it is scary. It is very scary.
The
And
extracts in particular.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
There's something like haunting about it.
It's quite scary, and it can land you in some very dark places, no doubt. And cannabis sometimes, I don't know what it is, but it kind of has this like cardiovascular effect. It kind of makes your heart beat really fast, which can be worrying when you're on it.
Yeah, that's something I kind of wasn't aware
Psilocybin
of.
doesn't have that at all.
I think that's the main
Yeah.
reason why I'm a little weary about these other things.
Well, psilocybin doesn't have
Yeah.
that cardiovascular effect at all.
Yeah, you know, I always think it doesn't have this cardiovascular effect, but it probably will me for some reason. I don't know why. I always think that.
It does.
It's even if it don't, it's not going to stop because I'm going to be dead soon anyway.
Yeah,
You know,
there's no possibility of dying on psilocybin or
And,
cannabis, but
you know,
you don't feel that at all on psilocybin.
you know all these different psychedelics I've been reading about, watching psych substance videos. Can't wait to get with you and ask you, dude, because this gentleman here has, for a great many of years, done his homework on a vast assortment of psychedelics. By the way, Terrence McKenna uses the words vast assortments a lot, and I'm a sped, and I really like to copy the greats like that over and over. But anyway, if you're gonna copy somebody, it might as well be Terrence McKenna. Dude, seriously, if we base our life here living like them, we're in good shape. But I feel that the things that if I don't do any other in my lifetime, at least a couple of psilocybin experiences, I want to go deeper into the edible world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not like tolerance build up getting to that because I've had three, and I was thinking about one when I was coming over here. I really I want to do some actually pretty quick, and just because Crowley and Dolly and a lot of other people that we follow so much has had revelations on mescaline, I really am curious about that as well.
Mm-hmm. It's mescaline is not going to deliver the type of visions that you'll get on psilocybin.
Yeah.
Psilocybin, you will hallucinate furiously. I would say mescaline is quite inferior to psilocybin, although it is interesting.
Yeah, very much. From what again, like just from research, psych substance, a lot of shamans, a lot of people, high um, people who we would value their opinions, has gotten questioned about this, and pretty much all of them will say magic mushrooms is like the source of the psychedelic world.
People didn't know about mushrooms until Tim Leary discovered them again. Well, actually, Gordon Wasson discovered them in like the 50s, and then Tim Leary. But they thought it only grew in Mexico. They didn't realize that it grew in the United States. So people like Tim Leary, he went to Mexico to take them from a shaman. People didn't realize they grew here.
Yeah, man. I have to go to the bathroom real quick, but I was going to ask you because I feel like a lot of people get this misconception and they have horrific stories they tell about this. They've had bad experiences, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that bad. I don't think we've ever talked about this particular thing on recording, but with the DXN.
Mm-hmm.
because I told you about that guy that I knew, and he's very afraid to take. I was thinking, that would be a cool thing to ask you on this recording and have you explain the ones to stay away from.
Yeah.
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 I'll be right back.
Okay. So DXM, he's referring to dextromethorphan, which is in a bunch of over-the-counter cough and cold medications. And a lot of people, a lot of teens, that can't get their hands on, classical psychedelics. A lot of times they'll take large amounts of these over-the-counter cough suppressant medicines in order to have this psychoactive, um, slightly hallucinogenic experience, which is quite dangerous because a lot of these over-the-counter medications have other drugs mixed with them, such as acetaminophen, if I'm pronouncing that correct, what's in Tylenol, which is very, very taxing on the liver. So that's not a good idea. But dextromethorphan does have some interesting qualities, and you can obtain the substance in pure form, but it usually has to be bought online. Although I have heard people saying that certain pharmacies do have pure DXM tablets, but if you do venture into this realm, do make sure that you're taking that the only active ingredient is dextromethorphan, because you will do your body damage. But if you do obtain pure dextromethorphan, it can deliver a interesting experience. It's not quite a psychedelic, it's a dissociative, similar to ketamine, and in high doses you can have an out-of-body experience, and even ego dissolution. I have experimented with pure DXM and had some pretty astonishing experiences with it. So just make sure that it's pure. So there's they talk about plateaus with DXM, and there's the first, second, third, and fourth plateau. And DXM is not as safe as things like psilocybin, although it's pretty safe. Yeah, you'd probably have to take a few thousand milligrams in order to die of it. Although you do want to make sure that you're in as with all of these things, you do want to make sure you're in a safe environment when you do them, because you don't know quite what you're going to do. DXM in high doses, like standing and walking around becomes almost impossible. You're just so disoriented. People talk about the robo walk. It's so crazy to watch someone walk when they're on it, because it's just so ridiculous the way you walk around on it. You can't really do that, so you need to be lying down. But the interesting thing about it is when you are lying down, you have the sensation that you are outside of your body, and that you're you can have the sensation that you're flying. You have the sensation that you're looking down at your body from the ceiling. I've had visions of swirling tunnels and going through these tunnels and seeing beings on both sides greeting me.
On DXM?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know that part.
I've had...
was the beings anything similar to psilocybin?
No.
Are you tapping in a different part, like the astral world, by these different? That's what I wonder.
I'd say that it's possible. Wow. It's possible.
God, makes you show. It shows you how big things are.
What's your receptors in your brain? We have endogenous, meaning already existing in our brain. We have all kinds of compounds. Effectively, they're drugs. They're endogenous drugs. We have DMT. We have endorphins, which affect their opioid receptors. We have endocannabinoids in our brains that get released during exercise and things like that. Um, so our receptors are like little keyholes, and these compounds are like the keys, and they open up these experiences. So drugs in relation to mysticism, these compounds, certain compounds are better than others, obviously, can unlock the possibility of having altered states of consciousness and perhaps deriving some insight from it. I'll be right back.
Well, another reason I brought up the DXM, not only have I really been interested in the visuals, he's talked about, it's almost like really futuristic. It's things, obviously psilocybin is even way more as far as, things that you couldn't imagine, whether it's really ancient civilizations that has been destroyed. Obviously, man's had a tendency over the years to destroy everything. But with DXM, the tunnel aspect, like being in these, like the machinery type stuff, which I know you've seen that on psilocybin as well. But it's like you're actually yourself, the way I take it with DXM, like DXM going through all these.
Yeah. What was I going to say? You mentioned the futuristic aspect of it.
And if I'm getting these wrong, obviously, correct me.
But no, I have had that.
I'm going strictly by research, obviously, right now. I've never taken DXM.
DXM is just, I had on high doses, complete ego dissolution, complete forgetfulness of who I was, where I was. I had no idea. I was trying to think, what am I? Where am I at? Who am I? I had no idea.
I remember he came and talked to me the next day, and he was like almost, I don't want to say traumatized, but like...
I really was. Yeah. I took a lot that time.
Dude, I didn't realize you have to take like a few thousand and that could kill somebody if they took that much.
Probably. I'm not sure on that, but I would assume probably.
Like you got up there. I mean, that's such a chance, dude. Like,
yeah, it is a chance. No, like these plants.
I respect that though. That
these plants are, they pose no risk to you physically. As long as you're doing it in a safe environment. The thing that's interesting with psilocybin is it's, and I've talked to you about this, as opposed to synthetic substances, is that it's animate. Something that I haven't got with things like LSD is psilocybin. There's a being, an intelligence, another intelligence with you, and it talks to you and it shows you things. With things like LSD, it lacks that animate quality, and that animateness is really, really almost eerie. Especially if you're not expecting that. It's undeniable. There's something else there with you, and that is some sort of super intelligence.
Is it a like uncomfortable feeling too? I mean, or do you feel like safe? Like,
well, at first, if you've never had that experience, it's shocking.
And you can't see it, whatever this thing is in the background.
The voice does. I don't know, because you do see entities.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that the voice that's talking to you, the voice does seem kind of like it seems different than the entities that you're seeing, because they're doing other things, but then there's this voice that's talking to you throughout it.
God, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, dude, this is why I ask so many questions about this, and watch as many of reliable sources as I can with like psych substance. I'm really, really extremely anxious and excited to actually to take psilocybin. And one thing is, and this is not even, I'm actually looking forward to the after party of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's the
Getting
best.
together and just talking. Maybe I'll have situations is exactly what you've seen, and we can start add this on to the
Map
great
it
work
out.
that we are in. Yeah, we map these things out. I mean, I really think we'll be able to put together some answers, man. That's
Yeah.
what I'm most excited for.
And as far as their application for mysticism, they obviously have medical applications. They heal brains. Talking of psilocybin, there's many studies that show this. They they can heal addictions.
I was getting ready to say
They cause neurogenesis in the brain, yeah, which is basically
rebuilding.
Yeah, it's basically rebuilding your neurology, and making it better in a multitude of ways. They create new pathways. I give the analogy a lot of a snowy hillside, and you every thought that you have in your normal state is like going down this snowy hillside and making indentations and pathways through the snow, and then it becomes easier to kind of get into those grooves, and that's what our thoughts are like. uh, you know we all have we all build this certain notion of how we think reality is, who we think we are.
This is very important to talking about.
And every time we build these neural pathways, and it becomes easier for us to we gravitate towards those pathways, whether it be through conditioning or through repetitious thought. And when you take a psychedelic like psilocybin, that starts to snow and it wipes all those paths away, and you start to see reality kind of as it is.
You see, when you start to,
so it gives you an amazing opportunity to you get a fresh start, and you're able to go forward without your conditionings.
You see, the plants that I've already taken has done this a lot to a certain extent, with just especially kratom and kava. And I've came to realize, you take a very small kid who's asking so many questions. They pay more attention to the small things that culture and conditioning gets us to forget and start focusing over here on the things that's not important. These plants will get us to go back to asking those questions,
Right.
as though Socrates talks about. He was the man, he called himself I can't remember what, he might have been a horsefly, and he's as annoying as a horsefly, because he goes from person to person to doctor's offices, retirement homes, grocery stores, and just ask people questions. And Aleister Crowley, he I believe he's the one that came up with the term of abracadabra, and that was when a great work, something of the great work, has been accomplished. And in this case, if you can start to recondition your way of thinking the right way, if you just simply break free from that completely,
and you're able to
do anything
see
else.
things objectively,
And all this stuff is building up from that, whether it's wisdom from plants, and it's no joke, man.
No, it's not.
A lot of people, and whether you're learning, I loved how you talked about a lot of people so interested in the magic aspect of it, they don't get into mysticism, and mysticism is a kind of a hard thing to explain.
It's mysticism is the the exploration of reality. It's the exploration and the philosophical wondering about what exactly is our purpose, where exactly are we going after we die, how should we spend our time. Mysticism is the investigation of the spiritual world, and a lot of people, they just simply say, oh, there is no spiritual world. Well, what are you talking about? But I think that there's a lot of things that are pointing out to us that there is a transcendental dimension. Psychedelics is one of these things that is pointing at extra sensory experiences, and so that's an indication, because if you have a psychedelic experience and you see that that's possible, because that's what's in that space is absolutely 100% totally unanticipated. You would never in a million years, what is in the tryptamine experience is what you are taught to believe does not exist.
Yeah.
And it's so outside of your anticipation. So once you see that, you say, oh my gosh, well, maybe all around us right now, there's energies and there's spirits and beings that we just, our brains filter out, so mysticism is kind of learning to contact this extrasensory space, and learning to train yourself to be more receptive to these things influence. And I think the ultimate goal of mysticism is to liberate yourself in one way or another, whether that be to move on from this 3D world into a new higher dimensional world, and or to ultimately or just to, at the very least, to be the most vital as you can possibly be, at the very least to have a state of the art understanding of what this world is, because what we are being fed on a daily basis is obviously horseshit to anybody that has eyes to see.
Going back to DXM though, I mean, that's so superior if you compare it. I was actually, before I came over here, I was reading about people who get curious about any type of drug, hallucination drugs, and then they somehow find out that if you take a certain amount of Benadryl, you have. By the way, what's it with spiders in that?
Yeah, that's a commonly seen thing. People see spiders and they see the Hat Man.
I didn't hear that one. Maybe I have. That's creepy sounding. But
I think people in like meth psychosis see the Hat Man too.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird.
I was reading about meth psychosis. Not to go off topic, but that's another thing that's extremely horrific.
Yes, it is.
But just think about all these holy plants that are always put so down. And that's really the reason people turn to something like, as pathetic as it sounds, taking a bunch of Benadryls.
Right. And say, I never want to do that.
There's a lot of people that's actually wanting to learn these things. They want to open up their third eye. That's
what's so you gotta do your own research on this, because there's a lot of people that just have this. They have the wrong idea about all this. There's so many people that I talk to that say, well, isn't LSD, like, doesn't that kill your brain? Like, people still think that this stuff is toxic, which is so crazy, because it's if you just do a little research into some reliable sources, LSD is one of the safest, among the safest substances that we know of. It's not toxic at all, essentially.
Yeah,
as with psilocybin.
This gentleman here has turned me onto these plants, and I, when I'm on the subject and I'm telling somebody this, it's just nothing else, want to do psilocybin, but kratom and kava has changed everything for me, man. I know you know that.
Those things are, and cannabis too. Cannabis is more psychedelic than than kratom and kava. But kratom and kava, um, you know, they they are tuning you. They are um, kind of catalysts that you'll consume and gets into your brain, and they're catalysts that make it that facilitate understanding some of these concepts. They facilitate being able to study and to perform rituals and to converse about these things. And they're things that you can do on a day-to-day basis or more frequently than these big things to kind of touch base with the guy in mind,
And I really like the other day I showed you I wrote those 2 reviews on like smoke shops that they sell some kratom. And by the way, the kratom that you get at smoke shops is decent, but they're nowhere near as good as we've talked about the brand that we order and stuff. It's so superior. It's so fresh. It's definitely stronger, and it lasts longer. I guarantee if we would go there and get one of those again, it wouldn't even last as long.
No.
But I try to put in the word whenever we can. We talk about this a lot, and I mentioned that there was no reason to mention that in that, about uh, just the brainwashing that goes on. And until you actually experiment with some of these things, I don't even know if it's possible. Until you do some of these plants, oh God, it's really. I mean, I can really see even just after kava when I'm talking about this. I mean, that truth really reveals itself in the most
these plants
profound way.
They stimulate creativity. They stimulate ideas. They stimulate insight. They do deliver insight. Most of these plants, like kratom and kava and cannabis, obviously the psychedelics too, in a greater way.
A lot of people, and I've recently, I would like maybe our next ceremony read some of this. You have to download it, but it's a good chunk of Crowley's last book, and he really goes in detail. It's not Diary of a Drug Fiend. This was like in the 40s, and he died in 1947. Because Diary of a Drug Fiend, he's using fictional characters, but he mentions later that this was something that happened to him.
Yeah, I read one of his quotes. He said that this really happened, and that the names have been changed to conceal identity.
Exactly. Yep, I read that too. But he talks a little more in depth about these experiences. And by the way, in Diary of a Drug Fiend is really interesting. He not only covers the revelations of the drugs that he was using, the things such as cocaine, and heroin. He talks about a lot of the bad things that come along
traps
with it too.
That can occur if you're not mindful.
With something like heroin, he explained it as a demon that latches itself on your back, and it can never come off.
Yep, it's miserable.
But yeah. Anyway, the things that I got really interested in, and we talked about this today, and a lot of people probably have no idea what smoking opium is. I mean, that's something you don't even hear anybody even mention. I don't even know if that's even possible for somebody to do that around here. And then obviously mescaline, but I am certain that he has tried psilocybin. And a lot of people say he tried LSD because LSD came out in the 30s.
Yeah.
He died in 1947, but he mentions cannabis and he mentions psilocybin in his poetry.
Interesting.
And I want to show you this actually after this, but it may even be in the book that you have. But what I'm curious about is a lot of the people that may not know this, they say that the drugs that he did, and this is what I was going to say. you don't know it because I remember reading Crowley just say before doing Kratom, and this is on a much smaller scale. You know, than somebody doing psilocybin say. You're pairing this with other things, and then he talked about reaching the high gods. I just love the way he said it. It's actually kind of funny in a way too, but it's so true. You know, when conducting these rituals, who is man to get the high gods to come down, meet him on this 3D level, when wanting to explore these regions of wisdom. So that's what, he used, like a big one was opium, heroin and cocaine to we actually just go up to the high gods, and then after that we get that. But yesterday when I had a kava slash kratom ceremony before I left, I've never had one actually hit me that far, and that's when it hit me. It's this feeling right here, brother, that I want whenever getting into more of these more not complex, but put more into them rituals. That's really the feeling that I'd like to have.
Well, the elixir, which is like a beverage of some sort that
LeVay talks about it.
Yeah, pagans and magicians will drink from before their rituals. Sometimes it contains wine, sometimes it contains certain botanicals, and it's to, like you gotta think of your body as an alchemical vessel, and our normal state of consciousness is a threat detection device to make sure that we're safe, and it's this evolutionary process to make sure that we're safe. We don't need to be, from an evolutionary standpoint, we're not going to evolve to, we haven't evolved to perceive everything. We've evolved to see and hear and sense the things that are conducive for our survival. So in order to do these rituals or to delve into altered states of consciousness that might facilitate our contacting of the spirit world, if you want to call it that, you have to perturb that normal state of consciousness. Our normal state of consciousness is not quite enough, even if it's through meditation. I mean, that's an altered state of consciousness, or through certain breathing techniques or mantra. All of these are things that all of these things are alchemical ingredients that can cast you higher into closer to that place.
So, kind of changing the subject a little bit, but my wife and I watched a movie the other night. It was amazing. It was in the 90s, but it was based back in the 60s. And I've always, heard things from the actor Robin Williams. I mean, he seemed like a very cool guy. And by the way, the name of this movie was Patch Adams, and I told you a little bit about it. But this took place. Oh, by the way, it was based on a true story, and I haven't really done research on it yet that much, except for one part. And sometimes whenever a movie says based on a true story, you don't know how much of it is actually a true story. I mean, look.
And a true story, too.
Exactly. A lot of times that, I think, by the way, what broke this and nobody really cares about it anymore, the Blair Witch Project.
It's based on the stories of long ago, people having strange experiences after the burning of that, or they didn't burn her, but after the murder of that,
the hunger, right?
Yeah, of that witch.
I just want to say real quick, going off topic.
But the movie itself wasn't.
Exactly. Well, I will admit, for a great many of years, I did think this was true footage.
Yeah.
And to this day, if I watch it, I'm like, was it real? Because
Yeah.
it's just so good.
I do love that movie.
By the way, I did go to, I'm just stating this, Burkittsville, Maryland, and I was so excited coming back, and I showed him all the pictures, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
We need to go there again,
That would be
actually.
great.
But anyway, that movie did break people on that. But it seems like this one is not really loosely based on a true story, the Patch Adams, but it's actually pretty
valid
accurate.
account.
But this anyway, I just want to give a quick story, brother, because I have some things I want to talk about. And Robin Williams, man, he done so good on this. And it's ironic because he plays this character who's extremely depressed, and he does a lot of drugs, and that's really the only time that he can really function. And when I mean drugs, I don't mean the good kind. He had just all of these pills, and but one of them you could barely see, and I had my wife pause that. It looked like it said Xanax. I was like, oh wow. But he keeps taking himself into the mental hospital. I always think of the Electric Wizard song. That's why I'm laughing. But and he does this because he thinks it's going to help him keep him from committing suicide. And that's another eerie part to this movie because he later did. But he saw a lot of things that was wrong with and he was an older guy too, the guy in real life. He saw a lot of things wrong with the medical system, and people are there just to get their paycheck and they don't really care about the patients. He tested a psychiatrist. He mentions stirring a cup of coffee with his dick or something like that. He didn't know it. He said, oh, very good, very good. He was like busy doing other things. But what actually kept him from actually committing suicide is he wanted to become like a doctor himself to actually help people. But it was the patients that he was with. He helped them out, and I was curious about the stories if it was true. And to my surprise, they did happen. But one character in particular had a traumatic experience with squirrels attacking him when he was a kid. And he imagines them all the time. So what Robin Williams did is act like he had a bazooka. He was killing this horse. He felt so good helping this guy out, and he realized he wanted to be a doctor. He had a really hard time through because he was actually had a brilliant mind. To this day, the hospital he started is operational.
Well,
but he started out. He had a hard time getting through because he was the biggest prankster. There was this scene of gynecologist was supposed to come and visit, and he asked the gentleman to come into this door, and he had these legs on each side. The door was where the pussy is, and that actually happened. He got in really big trouble for that, and they don't mention this in the movie a whole lot. They do a little bit, but just doing things to break the norm, doing things to break the conformity that we're
subjected to.
Yeah, I mean, I really had overall a pretty good revelation with that movie. And you know what? It was back, like I said, this really happened in the 60s. And that's when a lot of these revelations was being touched on. And I think at the end of the day, there's many different ways to get to these truths. And if you really want to make sure, you can kind of dabble in many different.
We should sift through all the options,
That's kind
see
of
what works.
I feel like we're at right now. I mean, I'm a nervous person, and I'm getting worse. I'm getting to where I don't really want to talk to anybody in public. But, I kind of want to do what he did. Just instead of going up to somebody, hey, how are you? Just hang upside down. Just ask the same question to get a different response. Provoking, I probably shouldn't tell this, but I will. I like to leave slips of paper and anywhere I go, restaurant, the bathroom, the grocery store, just something against, this culture's religion is obviously Christianity. If you look at the statistics, that the percentage of people that still Christians is actually crazy. And the way that it's practiced is what really gets me riled up the most, both of us here. LeVay done outstanding work on this, obviously. But, we're here, and I really feel that we have our rights to state the truth that we found out. A lot of people accept this, they practice something completely different than what they do. But going back to things I do, may get a little sticky note, put it on the wall. Hail Satan, the goat gods, join us tonight right here in this bathroom to smoke opium and read Anton LaVey's Bible. You know what? As crazy as it sounds, you're getting people to think about something different.
Yeah.
It's not about going out and just being a wiener to somebody just because they see things different. And, a lot of times the revelations that I've had is that, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of Christians, they're out to just get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
The wrong kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? It's just such a simple word and I can't think of it. Response. The wrong kind of response. And if anybody watches this and maybe can agree or feel one thing that we're talking about, whether it's with these holy plants, whether it's the hatred toward capitalism and culture and the way religion is practiced, these are things we need to do together.
Yeah.
I'm serious. This is a very temporary place.
Yeah.
But we need to do our best to make this place like the best we possibly can.
Because our world is in bad shape, and I find it. I'm on my path and I'm doing my work, but simultaneously, our world is crumbling, and we might be facing great disaster if consciousness does not rise in the population fast enough. So, we all have to be apertures for higher consciousness to come through. We all have to do our part and work on ourselves and stand up for, what we feel is right.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to talk about. I feel like we're the best people to consume a vast assortment of information throughout the week and just one to the other. We don't need any fancy bridges to get to the new subject.
No.
What do you call this? We always raw dog this.
Yeah.
I know I do have more things that I'd like to talk about, but at the moment, I don't believe
We can wrap it up if you
like.
like.
If there's anything you want to say, though, brother, we've already talked. Dude, it's been over an hour.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
If I was thinking we're going to do this one shorter, maybe 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it. This is what we usually wrap it up
Yep.
anyway.
That's crazy.
That's not good.
Time is flying towards the grave, my dear friend. We're all going to die very soon. We'll close it out with that.
I can't wait to go back and see this introduction. I want to see how I failed miserably reciting Holy Sacred Crowley's poetry.
Oh,
You know what?
Takes practice, my guy.
We're perfect in the Lord's eyes. I completely contradict everything I just said.
No.
All
right. Hare Krishna. Peace and love to all people that this touches. Keep doing the great work. Keep expanding consciousness. everywhere you go.
I would just like to merely state Hare Krishna, and we thank you if you watch this material of holy works. We love you. We wish to be your friend, and we hope that one day we will meet and we will go window shopping together. And then after we do this, we will proceed to get ice cream cones. That was very weird.
That was weird.
Sorry about that. We thank you and good night.
Bye.